Good afternoon. Secretary Churchill, Father President, colleagues, students, honored guests, and audience members, welcome. My name is Bridget Keegan, and I am the Secretary-elect of Creighton's new chapter-elect of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. We have in our audience numerous distinguished guests. Some will be introduced during the course of the ceremony. Additionally, in our procession and audience, I wish to recognize a few individuals and groups. I ask that you please rise to be recognized. We welcome Dr. Jenny Schlossman, President of the Omaha Association of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. We also welcome Dr. Stephen Leahy of our sister chapter in Nebraska, the Alpha chapter of the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. Dr. Leahy. We are pleased to have here several of the university vice presidents. Please stand. And many of the university, school, and college deans. We are also honored to have several members of the Creighton Jesuit community, including Father Rock O'Connor, rector and member of the University Board of Trustees. Father Rock, if you would stand, thank you. And we are thankful to have many of the friends and family members of our proposed foundation members and student initiates. Some have joined us from as far away as Hawaii. Will you please rise and let us acknowledge you? Thank you for making this time to be with us as we mark a momentous event in the life of Creighton University and celebrate the academic accomplishments of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. As is our custom at Creighton, we begin today's events with a reflection. I invite Father William Harmless of the Society of Jesus, Professor of Theology and member of Phi Beta Kappa, to the podium to offer an invocation. Father Harmless.
Let us pray. O God, Almighty Father, this day we celebrate excellence, the excellence of the gifts of intellect and of creativity. We celebrate these gifts in gratitude to you, for you are the giver of all good gifts. But we seek not just knowledge or achievement, but wisdom. Most of all, that too is your good gift to us, and therefore please bestow upon us all the wisdom to use our knowledge and our abilities to be of service to your communities, and especially to a broken world, that we may be instruments of healing and of selfless devotion to the vast needs of humanity and of our world. And we ask all of this, as always, in the name of Jesus, our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father Harmless. I now invite to our distinguished guest, Dr. John Churchill, Secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society, to the podium. Dr. Churchill.
Thank you, Dr. Keegan. The language of our ceremony is much of it quite old and in the fashion of another age. I urge you not to be put off by that, but to enter into its interesting cadences, but to accept before we begin that, in a very straightforward and plain way, a expression from those of us who have come representing Phi Beta Kappa that we are delighted to be at Creighton, and that this is not only a great day we trust in the life of Creighton University, but a great day in the life of Phi Beta Kappa. Members of Phi Beta Kappa, delegates, and honored guests, we have come to Creighton University representing the governing council of the Phi Beta Kappa Society with the authority to act on its behalf in the creation and installation of a new chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. This is a happy and important moment in the life of this institution. The creation of this chapter is the result of years of effort by those members of the faculty and administration at this institution who belong to the Society. But in a broader sense, it is the result of lifetimes of labor and accomplishment by faculty, administrative staff, students, and supporters, all of whom have created at Creighton University an institution of remarkable excellence in the liberal arts and sciences, the enterprise honored by Phi Beta Kappa. We trust that the installation of this chapter fulfills hopes entertained by all who serve and who have served here so well. The Governing Council of Phi Beta Kappa, having carried out a rigorous process of evaluation, is assured that Creighton University embraces and upholds the highest academic standards in an ongoing commitment to excellence in teaching and learning of the liberal arts and sciences. The Council therefore voted on August 4th, 2012, that a charter be granted to the members of Phi Beta Kappa assembled here, and that in accordance with its provisions, they be empowered to function in every respect as a chapter of the Society. Ms. Kara Engel, Director of Chapter Relations for the Phi Beta Kappa Society, will now read that charter document. And as it does designate the charter members of this chapter individually by name, I ask them all now, please, to rise or to direct their attention to her as she arrives at the lectern.
Charles F. Osterberry, Aaron Walczak Everett, Barbara Lynn Bittner, Judith Buma, Charles B. Bremen, Christy Briggs, Catherine M. Brooks, Jill Brown, Raymond Bucko, Christian Burke, Theodore E. Burke, James J. Carney, Terry Clark, Lydia R. Cooper, Randall L. Christ, Marianne B. Culhane, Alistair J. Cullum, Ginteris K. Duda, Fidel Fajardo Acosta, Julia Fleming, Leonard J. Greenspoon, William W. Harmless, Jeffrey Hawes, Edward A. Horowitz, Christine Dorn Carnes, Bridget M. Keegan, Tammy S. King, Carol Christine Knepfler, Faith M. Kurtaika, Sandra J. Landmark, Gary K. Leek, Mary T. Longo, Michael L. Mollenby, Patrick P. Murray, Mary D. Nash, Kent J. Neumeister, Neil S. Norton, Chris P. Pliatska, Mark V. Reedy, Jean A. Schuler, Janet E. Seeger, Rodney Skolnick, Peter T. Silberstein, Mary Helen Stefaniak, William O. Stevens, John R. Stone, Palma Joy Strand, Thomas Savalas, Patrick Swanson, Mackenzie L. Taylor, Larry L. Tepley, J.C. R. Firmas Lee, Mary Ann Vinton, Laura A. Weber, Deborah L. Wells, Amy E. Wendling, Charles Wester, James Wunsch, Greg W. Zacharias. The charter members may be seated. Whereas the liberal principles of our society should not be confined to any particular place, person, or description of persons, but should be extended to the wise and virtuous of whatever community. whereas we, the members of Phi Beta Kappa, as a body dedicated from its very founding in the historic year 1776 at the College of William and Mary in Virginia, to the ideal of excellence in scholarship in the liberal arts and sciences, are willing and desirous to propagate the society in praiseworthy institutions of higher learning. And whereas we are satisfied that you are inspired by an unquenchable desire that your institution be added to the notable company which enjoy the recognition of Phi Beta Kappa, and we have carefully determined that your institution is possessed of the character and standing which make it particularly worthy of admittance into the association and friendship. Therefore, by virtue of resolution duly adopted by representatives in the 43rd Triennial Council of the Phi Beta Kappa Society, we have decreed the establishment at this time of a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in Creighton University in the state of Nebraska to be known as the Beta of Nebraska. Furthermore, we have commanded that there issue under the seal of the society in the hands of the president and the secretary this charter in the name of Phi Beta Kappa. Accordingly, you and such others as you may hereafter elect and associate with yourselves in conformity to the law of Phi Beta Kappa, and your and their successors so elected and associated are hereby incorporated and established as a separate and coordinate branch of the society, and are hereby granted all powers, privileges, and benefits thereunto appertaining to as full and ample measure as the members of the existing chapters enjoy. There being at the same time enjoined upon and required of you in the organization and conduct of the chapter, and as conditions upon which this charter is granted, strict compliance with the Constitution and bylaws of the Phi Beta Kappa Society, with the acts of the Council and the Senate, and with the chapter constitution herewith transmitted to you. And likewise, a devoted effort always to protect the name and the key of Phi Beta Kappa from imitation and indignities, and faithfully to promote the purposes of the society. In testimony whereof, the president and the secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society have hereunto set their hands and caused to be affixed its seal this 29th day of November in the year 2012.
Members of the chapter being installed, would you please rise once again or direct your attention to me? Your names have been read, and I now ask you whether you will accept this charter and will undertake the responsibilities its acceptance entails. If you do, please signify by saying, "We will." Excellent. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Please accept the gratitude of the society for the time and industry you have invested in making this moment possible. You may be seated. Dr. Paul Lucas, chair of Phi Beta Kappa's Committee on Qualifications, will now initiate the foundation members. Foundation members, the chapter has selected Creighton University professor and Phi Beta Kappa member Amy Wendling as chapter representative to introduce you. I invite Professor Wendling forward, and I also invite Dr. Bridget Keegan and Dr. James Wunsch forward to help welcome the foundation members.
Charter members of this chapter are authorized at this time only to elect foundation members to assist as they organize the chapter. Have such members been elected?
They have, and I would like to introduce them and invite them to the stage as I share their names and brief biographies. Full biographies are included in your programs. Foundation members, will you please remain on the stage until all 6 of you have been introduced? Patrick J. Borchers, Vice President of Academic Affairs and former Dean of the Law School, enabled the successful completion of Creighton's application to the Phi Beta Kappa Society. At every step of the process, Vice President Borchers never asked why, but always, why not? With his characteristic diplomacy, tact, and constant good humor, Professor Borchers, as much as anyone else, is responsible for today's installation. Vice President Borchers graduated from the University of Notre Dame with a degree in physics in 1983 and with a JD from the University of California, Davis in 1986. He clerked for now U.S. Supreme Court Justice Anthony M. Kennedy from 1986 to 1987. Prior to coming to Creighton, he served as professor and associate dean at Albany Law School in upstate New York. He is a member of the American Law Institute and continues to publish regularly in his field. He and his wife Judy are proud parents to 5 children, including his daughter Erin, who will be inducted as a member in course today. Dr. Randolph Furlick is an alumnus of Creighton University and a retired cardiovascular surgeon. Representing Dr. Furlick today is his brother, Dr. Tom Furlick. In 1985, Dr. Randy Furlick headed the surgical team that performed the first heart transplant operation in Nebraska. He founded Surgical Services of the Great Plains and served as its president from 1974 until 1993. In 1991, he was appointed by former Nebraska Governor Ben Nelson to the first Coordinating Commission for Post-Secondary Education. He has served as commissioner for the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, and in 2000, he was elected to the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. A fellow of the American College of Surgery, Dr. Furlick has more than 50 peer-reviewed publications in national medical journals relating primarily to cardiology, cardiac surgery, and research. He and his wife, Teresa, have 4 children, 2 of whom are Creighton graduates. Rose M. Hill. If academe were a battle, and sometimes it is, Rose M. Hill, Assistant Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, would be the frontline commander any soldier would be grateful to follow. If academe were a pastoral paradise, and sometimes it is, Dean Hill would be the person who made sure that all the elements that comprised the paradise remained in place and worked. Academe is a place where a great range of personalities and talents are required to come together and operate efficiently to serve the teaching and learning enterprise. Dean Hill frequently leads us in our many efforts to ensure that Creighton serves its mission. Without her tireless work, the immense amount of coordination necessary to produce a successful application would not have been possible. For that coordination, that leadership, that generosity, and that example, we are very grateful. And something about Dean Hill. Dean Hill earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Michigan, and she earned a master's degree in public administration from the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Timothy R. Lannon of the Society of Jesus leads Creighton University as its 24th president. With great kindness, enthusiasm, and generosity, Father Lannon made it absolutely clear to the application team and to all Phi Beta Kappa members on the university faculty that he supported our chapter and considers the chapter a great asset to the university and a mark of Creighton's success and promise. Father Lannon graduated from Creighton in 1973 with a degree in mathematics. As a student, he was president of the Student Board of Governors and an engine for positive change, receiving the coveted Spirit of Creighton Award at commencement. Father Lannon also received the Alumni Merit Award in 1993, showing the depth and breadth of his support for the university. He holds 2 master's degrees from the Weston Jesuit School of Theology, a doctorate in administration, planning, and social policy from Harvard, and a professional diploma from Fordham. Father Lannon was ordained in 1986. Before coming to Creighton, Father Lannon was president of Creighton Preparatory School, vice president for University Advancement, and associate executive vice president at Marquette University. From 2003 to 2011, Father Lannon served as the 26th president of St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. Please join me in congratulating him. Michael Protera of the Society of Jesus was Dean of the Creighton College of Arts and Sciences from 1988 to 2000. As the leader of the College of Arts and Sciences, Father Protera presided over unprecedented growth in the number, quality, and diversity of the college's faculty. In this and in many other ways, Father Protera led the transformation of the college from an important regional institution to a prominent national one. During his tenure, college faculty attained a percentage of Phi Beta Kappa members sufficient to qualify us to shelter the chapter we now install. In addition, Father Protera's way of valuing and rewarding excellence inspired the faculty to pursue an application to shelter a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa so as to recognize the superb work of Creighton's students. A native of Aruba in the Dutch Antilles, Father Protera received his undergraduate degree from Georgetown University in 1964. He earned a range of advanced degrees, including master's and doctoral degrees from Boston College, Weston College, Woodstock College, Cambridge University, the University of Washington, and St. Charles University. He was ordained in 1971. After leaving Creighton, Father Protera served as president of the Jesuit College in Kingston, Jamaica. Subsequently, he ran a United Nations school system of 30,000 in northern Uganda. He now serves as a parochial vicar in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he teaches Latin in the middle school and ethics at the University of North Carolina. Please join me in congratulating him. Dr. Stephanie Wernig serves as Creighton University's Director of Institutional Research since 2005. She was a key member of the Phi Beta Kappa application team, gathering and organizing massive amounts of data and ensuring it was presented accurately and clearly. Her positive energy and dedication kept us focused and organized. Dr. Wernig graduated from St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, Indiana, with a bachelor's degree in sociology and social work. She holds a master's degree from the University of Denver and a PhD in higher education from Boston College. Dr. Wernig came to Creighton in 1987, serving as Associate Vice President for Student Services and Dean of Women for 18 years before moving to her current position. Prior to coming to Creighton, Dr. Wernig served as the Vice President for Student Life at Regis University in Denver. The author of numerous articles, Dr. Wernig is president-elect of the Board of Directors of Creighton's Alumni Club of Alpha Sigma Nu, the National Jesuit Honor Society. Among her many distinctions, in 2011, she received the John P. Schlegel Diversity Award for Excellence and Innovation. Please join me in congratulating her. We're grateful for our chapter and for the strength our foundation members have provided, and very pleased to be able to honor them today.
You have been elected by the charter members of this chapter to become members of Phi Beta Kappa in its organization and subsequent operations. The capacity to bestow this honor is accorded only once in the life of each of the Society's chapters. Will you accept this foundation membership now offered and the responsibilities it entails? If you will, please signify by saying, "We will."
We will.
On behalf of the officers and Senate of Phi Beta Kappa, I declare you members of the Society and welcome you into membership in the nation's oldest and most distinguished honor society. You will discover that the Society is a fellowship of learners, and we hope you all have much to teach us. Congratulations. The next question will be posed to the entire local membership, including the newly declared foundation members, by Ms. Catherine Sewell, President of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. I ask that all the members please stand.
The Phi Beta Kappa Senate long ago designed and published a model constitution for the governance of chapters. I'm advised that the members here have adopted a chapter constitution and agreed to conduct business of the chapter according to its provisions. Will you so agree? If you will, please signify by saying, "We will." The Senate has also designed model chapter bylaws for each chapter's consideration. I'm advised that you have seen that document and revised it slightly in accordance with conditions here on campus, and have adopted the resulting document to govern this chapter. I ask if you will agree to govern your chapter by them. If you will, please signify by saying, "We will." Thank you. You may be seated. Pending final approval of the chapter's constitution and bylaws, the Senate of the Phi Beta Kappa Society, it is understood that the chapter will be governed by the model chapter constitution and bylaws, an interim arrangement to be lifted with the Senate's approval of your own documents. The bylaws call for the election of officers. Dr. Wendling, have you names to be placed in nomination for these positions?
We do, Madam President. I ask those nominees to acknowledge their presence as I read their names. Dr. James S. Wunsch, Professor of Political Science, for President. Father Raymond A. Bucko of the Society of Jesus, Professor of Anthropology, for Vice President. Dr. Bridget M. Keegan, Professor of English, for Secretary. Dr. Ginteras K. Duda, Associate Professor of Physics, for Treasurer. Dr. William O. Stevens, Professor of Philosophy and of Classical and Near Eastern Studies, for Historian. Dr. Jeffrey P. Hawes, Associate Professor of Philosophy and of Classical and Near Eastern Studies, for Member at Large. Madam President, I move that this slate of nominees be accepted by acclamation.
Is there a second to that motion? Does any member wish to discuss the motion? And my script here says, hearing none. So we anticipated well. We shall proceed to vote on the resolution. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing none, we will go on. The motion is adopted unanimously. Officers, please rise to be initiated by Secretary John Churchill.
You have been elected by your peers to lead this chapter in the months ahead. This is both a notable honor and a considerable task. As this chapter's first elected officers, you will be responsible for establishing the permanent presence of Phi Beta Kappa on this campus, defining its mission in the community, and upholding its reputation for excellence. You will be expected to communicate regularly with the central office of the Society in Washington, D.C., to represent this chapter in the Society's national structure of governance, and to keep a permanent and accurate record of your proceedings. If you're willing to commit yourself to the carrying out of these responsibilities, I ask that you affirm that commitment by saying, "We will." Thank you, congratulations, best wishes, and you may be seated. The chapter charter having been duly delivered and its provisions accepted, the chapter constitution and bylaws formally accepted and established, and the officers elected and now confirmed, it is my pleasant duty to proclaim the Beta chapter of Nebraska has been formally installed. It takes its place among the many distinguished chapters of the Phi Beta Kappa Society with authorization to induct new members of Phi Beta Kappa in accord with the Society's policies, to advocate on the Society's behalf for excellence in the liberal arts and sciences, and to serve as a force on this campus and in this community for freedom of inquiry and expression and the other values inherent in those studies, and to commence its operation as an affiliate organization of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. I will conclude this ceremony of installation with a passage from a very early ritual. Let this chapter confer new distinction on the ancient and illustrious association of which it is now a member. May this star shine with unsurpassed brilliancy in that splendid constellation which has poured so pure a radiance over the literary character of our country. These words close the installation of Beta Chapter of Nebraska on the campus of Creighton University. So again, on behalf of the Phi Beta Kappa Society, its officers, Senate, Council, chapters, and associations, congratulations to the new chapter, and congratulations to Creighton University. It is now my pleasure to call forward the president of Creighton's new chapter, Dr. James Wunsch.
We will momentarily induct Creighton's first group of members in course. However, before we proceed, I invite Father Timothy R. Lannon of the Society of Jesus, president of Creighton University, to comment on what it means to Creighton to shelter a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa and the significance of the liberal arts and sciences within the framework of Jesuit Catholic education. Father Lannon.
Thank you, Dr. Wunsch. First, let me say that I'm greatly humbled to be included as a foundation member of this historic Phi Beta Kappa chapter at Creighton University. Thank you to the charter members for this great honor, for those of us being inducted today. And second, I am so pleased to be standing before you today as the president of Creighton University, because this is truly an impressive group, an impressive society of which we are now members of. I want to add my congratulations to our student initiates, as well as the charter members and foundation members of this chapter. This is indeed a very important and wonderful occasion for this university, and one that, as you've heard, involved the efforts of so many colleagues on our campus, and we're very grateful and offer our thanks to those of you who worked so diligently and so hard to make this day possible at Creighton University. I want to briefly explain why it's so valuable to have Phi Beta Kappa on our chapter at this university. As you know, and as you heard, Phi Beta Kappa is the oldest and one of the most prestigious honor societies in the United States. The society is perhaps the strongest in advocating for the humanities, liberal arts, and sciences in our country. It's synonymous with a love of learning, the lifelong pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. These ideals are closely aligned and matched to the Jesuit Catholic values upon which our university was founded. We could not be more pleased, more happy, and more proud today to be a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa at this university. And on this day as well, I and all of us are very proud of our student initiates. You are among the fewer than 1% of college students in the United States who are invited to join Phi Beta Kappa. You're joining the ranks of 17 United States presidents, 38 Supreme Court justices, and 136 Nobel laureates. For the rest of your lives, you'll be invited to advocate for the importance of the liberal arts and the sciences in the academy and in this nation, and to pursue knowledge for the sake of knowledge. You can take great satisfaction in the fact that you are now part of a fellowship of learners and leaders that adds and brings great value to our culture and our society, not only now, but in the future. Again, my congratulations to all of you, and on behalf of all of us at Creighton University, we look forward to a lifelong, fruitful partnership with the Phi Beta Kappa Society. Congratulations.
Thank you, Father Lannon. I now invite forward the chapter secretary, Dr. Bridget Keegan, the chapter historian, Dr. William Stevens, and Dr. Lydia Cooper to assist with the first induction of students at Creighton University. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa, honored guests, we meet here today to receive into our society those who, having qualified for election, now wish to be admitted to its privileges and undertake its responsibilities. In a ceremony that goes back to the time of the founding of our nation, we will welcome into an association with all those who have been members of Phi Beta Kappa in the past and into lifelong relationship with the society today.
Father President, members of Phi Beta Kappa, and friends, I have the honor to present the following persons who, agreeable to our invitation, here present themselves for initiation. Please stand as your name is called. Sean K. Awakuni, Aaron L. Borchers, Rance James Toshiji Fujiwara, Natalie O. Gorup, Elizabeth Halfman, Michael Vincent Hines, Grayson L. Jackson, Joseph Michael Moshman, Justina A. Piatek, Kylie Regan, Gregory Anton Rufner, Megan Julia Welch. Please remain standing as Dr. Wunsch addresses you.
According to Phi Beta Kappa documents dating from 1779, then president of Alpha Chapter greeted initiates as follows. This society was founded by a few friends. At first, it was confined to a small number of very worthy students. They planted the scion from which has grown this tree that now buds forth before your eyes with blossoms of harmony and concord. It was ingrafted on the stock of friendship in the soil of virtue, enriched by literature. To cherish and keep it alive hath been the constant care of those members who have succeeded. You are about to become one of those successors, and it is our fondest hope that you will in turn will come to cherish the society and will strive to perpetuate the spirit of this greeting. You may be seated. As is customary on this occasion, the chapter historian will give a brief account of the society. A full history of the organization can be found in your program. I invite Professor William Stevens forward to the stage left microphone.
On December 5th, 1776, a group of young men who were then studying at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, met to create a secret society, at once intellectual and social in purpose. The President's greeting to new members in 1779 reads, in part, "Here you are to indulge in matters of speculation, that freedom of inquiry that ever dispels the clouds of falsehood by the radiant sunshine of truth." In their clandestine meetings, the members seriously debated a host of questions, such as whether a wise state hath any interest nearer at heart than the education of the youth. The establishment soon afterward of chapters at Yale and Harvard ensured that the Phi Beta Kappa Society would survive the arrival of General Cornwallis's troops at Williamsburg. The society now has over 600,000 living members, elected over the years by the 270 chapters at colleges and universities throughout the country. In addition, more than 50 area alumni associations lend the society their support and provide members an opportunity for a lifelong relationship with the Phi Beta Kappa Society and its activities and goals on the community level. Creighton's chapter, Beta of Nebraska, was approved in August 2012. You are members of Creighton's historic first group of student members.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Candidates for membership in course, please rise once again. In accordance with the rules of this chapter, and in consequence of our good opinion of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of high attainment at this institution, you have been selected as worthy of becoming members of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of this chapter and have been met with their approval. You have been formally notified of your election and by your presence here signify your desire to be enrolled as members of this ancient and honorable society. Therefore, I now inquire, do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to the Phi Beta Kappa Society, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners? Please affirm by saying, we do. Thank you. Each of you has now affirmed your loyalty to the Phi Beta Kappa Society and pledged to uphold its standards. We welcome you into the ranks of membership and ask that you come forward as the Secretary calls your name and reads a brief biography to receive your certificate and pin and to sign the chapter register. Full biographies of all student inductees are included in the program.
Please note, not all student initiates were able to be present this afternoon. Sean K. Awakuni. Sean is a pre-med biology major from Hawaii. His research focuses on algal lipid accumulation for use in synthesizing biofuel. He has served as a volunteer coordinator for Habitat for Humanity and the vice president of service for Alpha Phi Omega, a national service fraternity, and has led various service trips through the Creighton Center for Service and Justice. Sean plans to spend a year of service and immersion in South America before returning home for medical school. Aaron L. Borchers. Aaron is a senior from Omaha, majoring in economics and physics with minors in mathematics and business administration. She researches economic impacts of state tax profiles on small business growth and has received a NASA space grant for her research on dark matter. She was a junior inductee of Alpha Sigma Nu. After graduation, Aaron plans to pursue an MBA JD or a graduate degree in economics. Rance James Toshiji Fujiwara. Rance is a biochemistry and Latin double major from Hawaii. This year, he was awarded the Classical Association of the Middle West and South Manson A. Stewart Scholarship for Studies in Classics, and he has twice earned the Furlick Summer Undergraduate Research Scholarship. Rance plans to attend medical school next year, focusing on programs with heavy emphases on research in the basic sciences. Natalie O. Gorup. Natalie is an English and French double major with a minor in philosophy. She has worked as an undergraduate assistant at the Creighton's University Center for Henry James Studies, served as a writing center tutor, and as an adult GED tutor for Metropolitan Community College. She's acted as editor of Shadows, the university literary magazine, and volunteered at the Siena Francis Homeless Shelter. Natalie is an aspiring poet who plans to pursue a master's degree in English next year. Elizabeth Halfman. Liz is a social work and Spanish double major and theology minor. She currently leads the Catholic Student Organization as president, tutors both on and off campus, and works a practicum for her social work degree at One World Community Health Center. After graduation, Liz looks forward to attaining a job that not only combines her social work and Spanish skills, but also continues preparing her to pursue a Master of Social Work degree in the future. Michael Vincent Hines. Michael, from Colorado, is a mathematics major with a pre-med focus. He traveled to Villa El Salvador, Peru last summer, where he worked in a clinic that served medically underserved populations. His research entails searching for possible gene therapies to correct hearing loss. Michael coordinates and assists at a tutoring program in North Omaha. He plans to begin medical school in fall 2013. Grayson L. Jackson from Texas is a chemistry major. Grayson has participated in a variety of activities, but his involvement in Welcome Week, chemistry research, and his semester abroad in the Dominican Republic are his most cherished experiences. Grayson plans to pursue a doctorate in chemistry and eventually become a tenure-track professor conducting research in the chemistry of water purification. Joseph Michael Moshman is a senior from Nebraska, majoring in political science with minors in classical and Near Eastern civilizations and Italian studies. He has served as a member of the Creighton Honors Program's Student Advisory Board for 3 years. He has interned in the offices of U.S. Senators Ben Nelson and Bob Kerrey. In the summer of 2012, he was selected as Nebraska's representative to the Henry Clay Center for Statesmanship Student Congress. Joe plans to attend law school after graduation. Justina A. Piatek is a psychology major from Nebraska. She is a research assistant for Project WISE, a multi-site psychological study investigating re-victimization of sexual assault victims. And she has volunteered at the Hope Center for Kids and the Mount View Boys and Girls Club. Justina also volunteered as a certified victim counselor at the Catholic Charities Phoenix House, a domestic violence shelter for women. She is a member of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars and Psi-Chi, the National Honor Society in Psychology. Justina plans to attend law school in the fall. Kylie Regan. Kylie is a senior English major with minors in history and business administration. She is from Iowa and last summer studied abroad in Ireland. She has been involved with the campus literary magazine Shadows since her freshman year and currently serves as its assistant editor. Kylie also works as a peer tutor in Creighton's Writing Center. She hopes to enter a graduate program next fall to pursue a PhD focusing on American literature. Gregory Anton Rufiner. Gregory is a biology major, medical anthropology minor, and proud native of the state of Washington. Last summer, he studied sociology near Lima, Peru. Following his time there, Greg returned to the Pacific Northwest and worked as an intern at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, doing research in novel T-cell immunotherapy to treat B-cell lymphomas. Greg will apply to medical school and plans to spend a year abroad after graduation. Megan Julia Welch. Megan is a secondary education and French major from Iowa. She has worked with the Freshman Leadership Program throughout her time at Creighton. Megan is an active community volunteer in tutoring and reading programs in the Omaha area. Megan studied at l'Université Laval in Quebec, Canada. She currently serves as an officer of the Student Education Association of Nebraska, and she hopes to find a job teaching French at the high school level while pursuing graduate school in education.
The students' initiates will please rise again. By election of the chapter and by your assent to its pledge and the placing of your signature on its book, the Society's requirements for initiation are fully satisfied. I, therefore, in the presence of these members of the Society, declare you to be members of the Beta chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of Nebraska, and authorize you to wear its key as a badge and to participate in its meetings. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You are now lifelong members of the nation's oldest academic honor society. Be active in its programs and the community alumni associations, support its endeavors and lofty goals, and be a working advocate for the liberal arts in our society. It is my pleasure to welcome you as members of the chapter. Congratulations. Phi Beta Kappa has a long history of commemorative poems and orations stretching back to the early days of the society. The most famous of these pieces is probably Ralph Waldo Emerson's The American Scholar, delivered to Harvard's Phi Beta Kappa chapter in 1837. Nearly 200 years later, many chapters still maintain the tradition of formal literary exercises as part of their induction activities. At this time, we mark the close of today's historic ceremony with a poem composed by Susan Eisenberg, Professor of English and Creative Writing at Creighton. Professor Eisenberg.
I am humbled and very honored to have been invited to read my work, at this momentous and happy occasion. Congratulations to all. I'm going to read a poem I wrote in honor of the photographer Roman Vishniak, whose life and work seem to me to exemplify the ideals that bring us together today. Just a quick bit of background for the poem. Vishniak was born in 1897 to a prosperous Jewish family in St. Petersburg, Russia, and emigrated with his parents to Berlin in 1920. where he studied photography and medicine, earned a doctorate in zoology, and went on to become a photographer, scientist, and teacher. His work would earn him international acclaim as both an artist and an innovator in biological photography. The work Vishniac is best known for are the thousands of photographs he took documenting the Jewish communities of Eastern Europe on the brink of World War II. It was this work that inspired my poem, and a number of the images you will hear are occasioned by those in the book A Vanished World, in which are collected many of the photographs Vishniac made of life in the infamous Warsaw Ghetto, determined to preserve through his art what he knew would be so brutally destroyed. To Vishniac. If only they'd been purely souls, saints, or like the ditchweed thriving against the ghetto wall, could have survived on air and sunlight alone. You knew from the first graffiti shrieking in the alleys, the posters erupting on courtyard paling and tidy storefronts, support equality and peace, vote for Hitler, all over your beloved Berlin. The corner bakery's window display changed from dark loaves and sweet cakes to what looked like antique radio antennas, devices for measuring skulls, sorting gypsies from mongrels and Jews from Aryans. Your neighbors queuing up to certify pure lineage that already they were ghosts. Faces framed in basement windows, shoeless children and old men peer out at streets they cannot enter. A cobbler idles beside his empty bench. A young man, homeless, carries all he owns in a paper sack. Your ancestors and mine, Roman, a book of photographs I now hold in my lap. Smuggled Leica hidden in your coat, you shot these ordinary stories of the vanished Jews of Warsaw, 1936. Here, the shades of peddler's pace out of habit or frail hope behind bare stalls. Here, a lucky porter dozes on the splintered crate he's muled to, boots held tight against his chest. A bearded rabbi listens as his student, a boy so thin he might be 10 or 17, makes his case for an esatog, an eating day, one more meal a week to make 3. Your ancestors and mine, Roman, though strange even to us, in their fur hats and medieval cloaks, their queer tongues, the Yiddish they made of fractured Russian, German, and Polish, their only country, the ancient Hebrew prayers they chanted, davening, the tranced, rocking, and keening, mumbled or shouted songs offered up to a nameless God who'd never shown them favor or mercy, marking them foreign wherever they fled. I wanted, you write, at least to save their faces. No photograph records the rabbi's answer. The caption tells us that the boy, though promising, even there they spoke of promise, could not study, that he thought only of food. You did not photograph the rabbi's yes, the boy fallen, having fainted in relief. One arm raised, palm up, he's forever caught in eloquence, articulate gesture, his sharp, familiar profile, my son's or yours, lively as a bird's. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Eisenberg. That was very moving. And thank you to all of our audience members for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to take a moment as well to recognize a special person. Dr. Bridget Keegan, would you please stand up? The efforts to bring a chapter to Phi Beta Kappa to Creighton go back to the 1980s and once again in the 1990s. We tried again in 2006, a group of 4 of us. Then we certain things happened, and we had to give it another shot in 2009. In those last 6 years, one person really made a difference in making all this happen. Many, many people contributed to it, but the person who was our steadfast leader, who bucked us up when our morale was down, who helped us figure out how to take a challenge and make it into a triumph, was our dear friend and colleague, Dr. Bridget Keegan, and I'd like to ask for a round of applause in recognition of her efforts. Thank you all. I invite all of you to join me directly outside the auditorium for a celebratory reception. I ask our audience members to please to remain in their places until the stage party and new members have recessed from the auditorium. Thank you, and I hereby declare this meeting adjourned.